Welcome to the Fit Strong Women Over 50 podcast, episode number 88. Hi, everyone. I'm Chris. Thank you for joining us.
And I'm Jill. Chris and I are your hosts for this podcast and the founders of the Becoming Ellie community.
If you're wondering who Ellie is, Ellie was the Norse goddess of aging who beat Thor in a wrestling match. We decided to name our community after her because we were inspired to be more like Ellie.
And it's Becoming Ellie because we're always working on becoming fit and strong. You know, it's a constant thing to work on.
Yeah, isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
You can find out more about Becoming Ellie community and this podcast at our website, becomingellie.com. And Ellie is spelled E-L-L-I.
Be sure to sign up for our newsletter while you're there. That way you'll know about new episodes and anything else that's new in our world.
I think our listeners are really going to enjoy today's episode. We're talking to Chad Austin about making fitness a priority.
Yes, I feel like he really described me at times. Let's go to the podcast.
Chad Austin has been a leader in the fitness industry since 2003. He is the owner of Priority Fitness in Overland Park, Kansas, and is also the author of a book series, Make Fitness a Priority: How to Win the Fight Against Your Excuses. Chad is a regular fitness and wellness guest expert for local and national media. He was the host of the talk show Be Fit for Life, and he has been featured on over 20 podcasts. Chad helps his guests stop constantly starting over and instead find long-term fitness success. His goal is to help you find a plan that you can use immediately.
When I saw that Chad's focus is helping busy people elevate their life by figuring out how fitness best fits in their schedule, I knew he'd be a good fit for our podcast. We've been talking about this issue in the Becoming Ellie Facebook group, and I think it's something we all struggle with. Welcome, Chad. We're so happy to have you with us today.
Oh, thank you guys for having me on.
Yes, we're really glad you've joined us. And why do people struggle to make fitness a priority in their lives?
I think one of the biggest hurdles that's overlooked is life's changes, and it's like every time something changes in our life, whether it's good or bad, we kind of have to adjust to that. And otherwise our priorities will kind of lose balance with. And it seems like what always suffers is our health and fitness. Fitness always becomes the thing we're going to get to later. But our career, our family, our faith, those things we always adjust to right away. But fitness is always the one we have to get to later because we struggle to figure out where it fits once things change in our lives.
What's the biggest obstacle that most people must overcome?
Really overcoming their excuses. And I mean, that's pretty vague, but really, we all have obstacles that we face every day that can easily become excuses. And so I'm an avid obstacle racer. And I think I've kind of been drawn to that as a behavioral change consistency coach, just because the words excuses and obstacles kind of just, you could basically any sentence obstacles and you could take it out and put excuses. It's going to work just as well. Right. But the challenges we face every day, whether it be a busy schedule or having to travel for work or kids at home, a single parent, anything like that, it's easy to use those obstacles as excuses to put fitness off until later. And every time, like I said, every time a life's change happens where we kind of are used to a routine, and then something good or bad happens. We get married, we get divorced, we lose our job, we get promoted, or we start a family, we have a kid, or our kids get older. Now they're in activities every night of the week. And once we have more obstacles in the way, then it's easy to put fitness off until later. And so when I think the biggest way of overcoming that, when I speak to an audience, I've realized a long time ago that my goal when I speak to an audience isn't to convince them that eating right and exercise are important, because I know everyone knows that. Everyone understands the value in exercise and nutrition, what they would get out of it. But what my goal is to help them realize that even though they have all these obstacles they face every day, they could still make fitness a priority right now if they wanted to, if they chose to. And once they do that, all the other priorities in their life across the board will get better. Their family, they'll get better with their family. They'll get better with their job, their faith. They'll get better. Everything will get better. And so it's really just helping them realize that just because life changes doesn't mean you can't still make fitness a priority. It's just going to look different.
I know that's definitely true. I know, like, for example, I've traveled for dealing with family issues, and it's very easy when you're out of your routine and out of your environment to struggle to get in any fitness at all.
Isn't that true, Jill? You know, I think you said right in the early part there that change makes people stop their focus on health and fitness, and change is a constant. So that's kind of interesting that you brought that up. And from what I understand about your book, that it's great for helping people overcome their excuses. And when I think of excuses, someone's struggling with the "I'm too busy" excuse, because I hear that one the most, and I use that one the most. So how do you help people change their mindset?
In my book, I have a whole lot of strategies I use to kind of help them overcome excuses. And so the Make Fitness a Priority book, the first book I wrote, that is actually, the listeners, if you listen till the end of the show, you're going to get a link to where you can get a free copy of this book. It's kind of a guidebook for people. It started with one book and it's become 3, and there's definitely more coming. And so it's kind of become a series. I keep writing more as I learn more. I think the changing your mindset, actually, there's an exercise we could do that would take just a second if you guys are up for it. That would
sure.
Be very valuable.
That'd be great.
But this is something, I have a 6-week workbook. That's my second book. And what I do, it's an exercise that it's called the Fit List test. And I tell everyone that 5 minutes doing this test, it'll completely change your mindset from "I'm too busy, I can't do this right now" to "I can do this right now. And there's nothing stopping me from doing it." Okay. For every time you've heard me, before the show and since we've started already, every time you've heard me use the phrase "make fitness a priority," probably people came to your head. So when you think of people who I like to call them make fitness a priority heroes, the people that no matter what, fitness is always a priority in their life. So they always get their workouts in, they always stick to their meal plan, no matter what's going on. Fitness is always a priority in your life. So I want you to take just a couple seconds, think of a couple people. Who are the people that come to mind when you think of who your make fitness a priority, who your priority heroes are? Okay. And now the second part of that is I want you to think about all the obstacles that they have to overcome to do this. The people that in your mind don't let anything ever stop them from making fitness a priority, no matter what. Now I want you to think about what obstacles they face all the time. Do they have a busy job? Are they single parents? Do they have to travel a lot for work? Do they have kids at home? Do they have multiple kids at home? Are their kids at the age where they're all involved in different activities all the time and they're always there to support them? Do they have a gym nearby to go to, or do they have to travel to go to their gym? Do they have to do their workouts at home? So what obstacles do they face? And there's an endless amount of things that could be examples for obstacles people face, right? There's so many I didn't name. And now the third part of this, I want you to look at yourself. And I want you to think about what obstacles trip you up, what obstacles get in your way that make you that cause you to keep putting fitness off until later because you think you're too busy. And that's where your mind is right now. So what obstacles do you face? So do you have a busy job? Do you travel for work? Do you have kids at home? Are you a single parent, or do you have parents that live with you that you're taking care of, or whatever obstacle it may be? And so I had people go through this exercise. And then what we do, of course, the next logical step is we compare our obstacles with the people that in our mind make this look easy. The people that always make fitness a priority, no matter what, nothing stops them. Do we have more obstacles do we face than they do? Or is it the same? And so when I take people through this, the takeaway that you always get is that everybody faces obstacles. Nobody makes this easy, no matter who makes it look like they're making it easy on social media or when we see their highlight reel. This isn't easy for anyone. But the reason that looks easy for them is because they've made it very important. They understand why it's important. And those are normally the happiest people we know, the people that are living life to the fullest because they've mastered the fitness part. And so that's just kind of really a glimpse of what can happen to you But most of the time when people do this, they realize that the people that in their eyes make it look easy have way more things they have to overcome to do it than they do actually themselves. And so it's just kind of it's just a good switch in your brain to make you realize that there's nothing really stopping me. And I could be as happy as them. My life could improve in quality just like theirs does if I just were to make it happen.
Good point.
Yeah, thank you. That really does help to put things in perspective, doesn't it?
The fit list test.
Yeah. So if some of our listeners are ready to make fitness a priority in their lives, what advice do you have for them? Like, what can they do to make fitness a regular part of their schedule?
Well, what I always tell people, the key to this is you have to figure out how fitness fits in your life. And so I definitely learned as a trainer that there's no one size fits all with training. And so what fitness looks like for you is, fitness looks different for everybody. And the problem with that is why most of us kind of fall into this yo-yo pattern of getting in great shape and then falling out of shape, getting consistent and then getting out of a routine, having lots of energy and then, losing energy because we don't work out. But that happens a lot of times because we are attracted to instant gratification. And so we put fitness off for as long as we can because we think we don't have any time. And then once we just can't take it anymore and we have a deepest desire to look and feel better and we have to do something about it, it's like we want results as fast as possible. So we're attracted to these instant gratification programs that are always available to us out there that are basically one size fits all. It's the same for everybody, no matter who you are, no matter what your fitness level is, no matter anything. And just designed normally in a program to get you as much results as possible in the short period of time that you have. And that only just leads you to temporary success because what works for someone else may not work for you. And what worked for you in the past probably won't work for you now because your life's different. So you can't pick up to where you were, what someone else is telling you to do. You have to figure out what works best, what fits best in the life I'm living now. And besides that, just getting started, when you first get started, always the heaviest weight in the gym is the front door. That's a saying I never forget.
Well, that's a great saying.
Yeah. And whether you're just getting started or whether you've had a long break, if you've had a long break, then that door all of a sudden gets heavier and heavier again. And it's so much harder to restart and find that out for yourself or where you're at. But yeah, figuring out how it best looks for you and being something that you can keep doing long term, that is the key to getting started.
When someone is new to working out or new to getting back to working out, what do you recommend to get them started?
First, you have to have a plan. Okay. It's just like New Year's resolutions. You can't write something down and then put it in a drawer and never look at it. You can't just say you're going to do something and it happens. You need to have a plan of how you're going to do it. And so make sure you know. And so what that means is, what does working out look like for you right now? What do your workouts look like? How many days a week? What time? And things like that. Look at your family calendar, look at your work calendar, what fits. And knowing that where you're starting from. So if you're used to be in great shape and you've fallen off track over the years, and so you're starting over, you're not picking up where you left off. You're starting where you are now. What will your workouts look like getting started? What do they work like now? What do you have time for in your schedule? Where do they fit? And the same thing with your meal plan, your nutrition plan, or depending on what your goals are. You have to figure out a plan and very, very familiar with what your expectations are for yourself, and so you can hold yourself to it.
Great. Thank you.
Many people have lost weight and then they put it back on and they'll do that over and over again. Why does that happen? I
think a big reason is normally you're doing something when you lose this weight. And so a lot of times it could be you got a trainer, it could be you started working out, but your goal might have been this weight loss goal. And so you reach this weight loss goal. But a lot of times how we fall off track is we never take the time to think what's next. So like if you're doing this program now, or you're doing this, you have this goal in mind to get to, you never take the time. If you don't ever take the time to ask yourself, what's next? What am I going to do after I get done with this? What am I going to do after I reach this goal? What's fitness looks like for me then? If you don't take the time to think of what's next, then most of the time what's next means nothing. And then you end up going to do nothing. And it doesn't mean that you have to keep working out as hard as you did. And so even the best athletes in the world that are in the best shape of their lives, they still have seasons. And so your workout's not going to look the same all the time. It may taper a little bit. It may be easier in some points, maybe harder in some points. It may be more strength training, more cardio, it'll change over time, but you always have to know what your plan is, what you're doing next. I think most of the time when people end up falling off track and they lose results, whatever they were doing to help them reach those results, either it wasn't realistic going forward, so they didn't take a time to think of what they're going to be doing going forward, but just taking the time to make sure you know what your plan is, what your expectations of yourself right now will stop you from kind of hitting those plateaus or falling off track like that.
So that's true really for fitness, and whether you're talking about weight, people who are losing weight or whether you're gaining strength, that it's easy to stop. It's easy to stop both of those. So it's easy to gain weight and it's easy to lose muscle.
It's easy and really it's inevitable. And so that's why I tell people, nothing about making fitness a priority in your life that I preach to people. Nothing about it has anything to do about being perfect. And so it's about, you're going to make mistakes. And so as a fitness professional, it's one thing I hate about New Year's resolutions when those come around every year. I love goal setting and I'm for New Year's resolutions, but what I don't like is all the negativity that we know all these stats about New Year's resolution fails, right? We know that it's inevitable. You're going to eventually fall off track, but so what? Who determines our success and failure on that? I always tell people if you're in the first 6 weeks of the year when 90% of people are supposed to have failed, if you're in that 10%, good for you, because your time's coming. You're going to fail too. And failing doesn't end our fitness journey. That's what people have to realize. When you mess up, it's not about beating yourself up, or it's not about shaming yourself, because everybody fails. You're not perfect. It's what defines you and what helps you get good at making fitness a long-term part of your life is what you do next. How are you going to get back on track? And the more times you learn that lesson, the better you are at it.
What about injury? Something happens, you get injured, so for me, I was running and I injured my Achilles heel for a while, that tendon. So then I quit running and eventually I came back to it, but that coming back to it is hard. Mm-hmm. So is there anything that's different about being injured, or what advice do you give people, to your clients that come in and say, hey, I'm injured, but I need to do something? Yeah.
Well, I was first I definitely, whenever my clients get injured, I definitely have great empathy and sympathy for them, because I've been through that. And there's nothing more frustrating than having great results and then having it be stopped because all of a sudden you got hurt. And, but just know that, it doesn't give you don't have to stop training. It's okay to be frustrated and it's okay to be upset about it. And that's part of, it's just like life. It's just part of the fitness journey. It's never just a smooth sailing uphill road, right? There's going to be zigzags and there's going to be some ups and downs. I'm a positive person, so I always like to think of, this is good because. And so maybe I hurt my knee, so maybe I can't do squats or sprints anymore like I was enjoying doing, but now I can focus more on my upper body, or I can focus more on rowing or something else that's more of an upper body thing. And so maybe I hurt my shoulder, so I can't do some of these, but it'll give me a chance to work on my running or my cardio more or something. And so you can still do your, whatever is hurt, there's still a lot of muscles in the rest of your body that's not hurt. And so
now that's a good way to think of it. There's still a lot of muscles.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. In my first book, I have one chapter that I call out all excuses. Kind of like what you have to do in problem solving mode. You have to first call out all the problems and then you can go forward after that. So I have kind of a top 10 list of my favorite ones, my blank hurts is one of them. And so that's something that always comes up, and we can easily use that injury as excuse to just do nothing until it's healed. But then we're making it harder on ourselves. And so I always think, what can I do now? There's something you just have to pivot. There's a big change that just happened. And so fitness isn't going to look exact same anymore, but how does it look now?
That's a really good point. We've talked a lot about different weight loss programs that are out there, and there's so many different ones and they can be confusing. What tips do you have to help us avoid falling for a weight loss scam, for instance?
there's two main red flags I always have people look out for when they're looking for a program for themselves, whether it's weight loss or muscle gain, whatever their goals are. And one of them I mentioned earlier, just if it's one size fits all, then it's not it's not going to be for long-term success. Okay. So there's a lot of really good programs out there, but if it's the same for everybody, you want your program to be customized to you, individualized for what best fits you, best fits your schedule, best fits your energy level, and best fits the time when you'd have the most energy to do your workout, what fitness level you're at right now. I mean, all those little things are important. So you want it to be able to be customizable to you, to what best fits you. And so if it's not, if everyone that does the program does the exact same thing, and no matter who they are, then that's a red flag right there, because that's a sign for temporary success. It's not going to work for a long time. Because you can't fit a square peg in a round hole, right? And so if you try to make it work, you're not going to be able to do it for long term. And so that's the first red flag. And the other one is that we kind of touched on earlier too, is if it begins with the end in mind. And so that means if it's a 12-week program, or it's a 30-day program, or lose this much weight in 30 days. And so it's always, if it's a promise of fast results with little or no work on your part, or if it's got buzzwords in it, then that's all, or if it has before and after pictures in it. I mean, all those are signs of it being a scam. These are tough decisions. I talk about this topic a lot, because I've fallen for all these things before. I mean, when we have such a deep desire to get results, and we want to look and feel better so badly, and especially if we struggled to get results in the past, these promises that are unrealistic, they just seem so awesome, and they're so hard to resist them. But you're just gonna be kicking yourself, because what I call instant gratification, I refer to instant gratification in a lot of my talks as turkey bacon. Is like, bacon is my favorite food, right? But when you go in the store and when I see turkey bacon, it really gives me about the same reactions whenever I see a weight loss ad. I just get mad, because it's just false advertising, and it looks so much like the real thing, but it's not. And when you get it, you'll know right away it is not the real thing. It is fake. It's an illusion, and you're just going to feel like you didn't get what you paid for. But that's if you fall for that instant gratification, those promises, then that's all it is. You're not going to get long-term success. So, but those two things are always something you want to look out for. Is it one size fits all? Because fitness is not one size fits all. So if it's one size fits all, and it can't be customizable to you, then that's a big red flag. And if it begins with the end in mind, and so you're going to do it for 30 days. And the reason that's a big one is because normally their goal of the program is within this 30 days, within this 6 weeks or 12 weeks, our goal is to get you as much results as possible in this time frame. And so in a real program, I have a workbook. My second program workbook was really based with me being irritated with this problem we have in fitness right now. And so my 6-week workbook is more about helping you figure out how fitness fits in your life. And so the goal is not there's no promises that in 6 weeks you're going to get the most results possible in 6 weeks, and it's going to be easy for you. The promise is that in 6 weeks, we figure out how fitness fits in your life, so you can keep doing it long term. And then the next part of that would be learning how to, every time life changes happens, giving you the tools to understand, how do I reset? How do I figure out how fitness fits now?
How to make it adjust into the new change.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Thanks.
Do you recommend to your clients that they eat a particular way?
Well, that's another one that's different for everybody. And so almost with everything as far as fitness, and I bet it translates outside of fitness too, but that there's no norm. And so what worked for someone else isn't guaranteed to work for you. What was the best thing for someone else isn't guaranteed to be the best thing for you. And what worked for you in the past may not be the best thing for you now. And so things change. And so it's about figuring out what's best for you right now. So my wife, I actually just got married in June. I almost said fiance. Still getting
congratulations.
Used to saying, oh, thank you. I'm still getting used to saying wife. But she has a lot of food restrictions. And so she has an allergy to eggs. She has an issue with gluten and a few other things. And so, but she's also a really good cook, and loves to bake. And so I had no idea I could eat so well and have some of my favorite foods and have it not have gluten or eggs and some of these things in it. so incredible that you that but it tastes just as good as the real thing when it's still homemade. And so it's but figuring out what works best for you. So like for me, my body responds well to whole grains and gluten, really, those things. But I know a lot of other people, that could be something that's holding them back. And then it's something you kind of have to discover on your own, unfortunately, with trial and error. It's not something that someone can just tell you. And that could be something that changes over time. I know Justin learned out that she didn't find out she was having a problem with eggs until she was like 25. And so, I mean, it's something that kind of changes over time, but it could be that you end up later have problems with certain foods that cause inflammation or things, or it could be that you have you're more sensitive to caffeine or something like that. And so the best rule of thumb, if you need a place to start with your food, is first making sure you're hydrated. So how much water are you drinking? That's always, I mean, when I first meet someone, I'm talking about sleep, hydration, and then I'm going to ask them about food. The first thing I'm going to ask them is how many times a day you eat. So I think most people, when they come, and if they're just coming to a personal trainer so the typical person in America, the way they eat is they'll say they eat 2.5 times a day. And so normally that means they skip breakfast and they'll either have a snack before lunch or they'll have, they won't eat until lunch. And lunch will be a decent meal, but then after that, they won't eat anything else because they'll just be busy with work all day, and they'll come home and they'll be starving. And so their biggest meal is dinner, and then they'll just crash out and then next day wake up, go do the whole thing again. That's how most people in the world eat. And so teaching yourself to think not only as food as being something that tastes good, but food as being fuel. And so putting more better fuel starting out the day. So if you're thinking that your body's been without food for 12 hours, making sure that you're able to function best, you're able to think best, have the energy, have the best mood that you can be for your personality, and be able to just do everything to the best of your abilities, making sure you eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then, and then the next part, we can put in any snacks that we want to keep you fueled throughout the day. And then, and so that's kind of my pattern. I first help people start making sure they're eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And so that they're not eating just 2 times a day anymore, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then making sure if they're hungry throughout the day, putting in snacks. And then I worry about the quality of food. And so then I make sure. And so the first step is to start eating real food and less processed foods. And so in a grocery store, that's the perimeter, so you're eating real food and cutting out all the processed food in the middle.
Well, as you know, most of our listeners are women over 50. And I'm wondering, do you have any special advice for us?
I have a lot of clients that are between 50 and 70, and they're in very good shape because I have some of my most consistent clients that I've had for a long time. But I think the best thing for someone that age, especially if they're just getting started with fitness, is just to know that you don't stop working out when you get older. You get older when you stop working out. And so I always think that is the first big tip. Once you stop moving, then your body doesn't need to use those range of motions anymore. And so you're going to slowly start using them over time. And so I think whatever it looks like to you to be active, but just knowing that being active and moving more is going to make you feel better. And so for the moving part of it, workout part of it, that's the first thing to keep in mind. That is a myth that that age is something that stops us from being active as we age. That is one of those things that is a myth. The more you move, the more you're going to prolong the suffering of aging, and the more you're going to be, the more you're going to keep yourself young longer, the more you exercise. And so exercise is good, but probably even more so as you age. But other than that, I think it doesn't really matter what age you are when you're starting out. It's starting out knowing that what's best for me. How does fitness fit for me for all aspects of it?
In our introduction for you, and you've mentioned it a couple of times, that you are the author of a book series called Make Fitness a Priority. Can you tell us about them?
Yes. So actually my studio, Priority Fitness, where I live here, that was actually named after my first book. But Make Fitness a Priority, How to Win the Fight Against Your Excuses. That one was in 2016 I published. And it's been a bestseller and won some awards, but it's become 3 books. And I have actually another one I'm working on now that'll be about what will you gain by making fitness a priority. We kind of talked about it earlier with the world so focused, with the fitness world so focused on how much you can lose or how fast you can lose weight. So then kind of changing the narrative and focus on what you can gain by making fitness a priority. The book is really kind of just make fitness a priority, how to win the fight against your excuses. When I first started, it was me kind of evolving as a trainer. And so most people, when they come to a personal trainer, they're fueled by short-term motivation. So we kind of touched about it earlier. Normally they put fitness off for a while, but now there's something coming up in their lives that they want fast results for. So like there's
I had a trainer once who said he wished that everyone would be a bride because they were the most motivated people though.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably the leading cause of motivation to get started on and to get in shape is a wedding coming up or a wedding or a vacation, swimsuit season.
Mother of the bride, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, everyone, something big like that. But what I did, I had so many people that I helped them reach these goals that were coming up, but then I never did my part to have them look past that event. And so they were only focused on that event and so they got great results and they were ready for their event. But then once that event was done, so was all their motivation. Everything they would focus on was that event and they never took the time to ask what's next, all those things I've learned you have to do. And so me evolving as a trainer is kind of helping people look past that. It's not just my goal to help people reach the short-term goals that help them walk in the door and get them started, but how do we make fitness a long-term part of your life so you don't go through this yo-yoing pattern? And the way I really stumbled across that, when I was going to write my first book, I was doing an online poll. And then my poll question was just, what are your top priorities in life? And I asked as many people as I could this question, strangers, family members, people I haven't spoken to in years. And across the board, the top answers were family and career. But the answer no one even said was health and fitness. It's like no one even thought to put it. And it's because in our minds, it's always what we're going to get to later, and unless something big's coming up that is making us giving us that short-term motivation, that short-term fuel. And so just kind of changing people's mindset that understand that not only, we are busy and we can use our obstacles as excuses to put fitness off until later. But if instead of doing that, we figure out how fitness fits in our life right now, fitness will make all of our life better. Fitness will improve all your other priorities in life. It will help you with your family, help you be a better husband, help you be a better father, or better at anything, but with your family, your career, your faith, everything. And so it's kind of changing the narrative that we're stuck in right now as a country. I think that fitness is always something that we're just kind of on a roller coaster pattern with.
And I am assuming that all your books are available on Amazon, at least.
Yeah, all of them are available on Amazon. So I have 3 right now. I'm working on my 4th, but I have Make Fitness a Priority, How to Win the Fight Against Your Excuses. And I have the second one is a 6-week workbook that we touched on a little bit, but helping you figure out how fitness fits in your life so you can make it a long-term thing. And then the last one that we actually wrote during the pandemic is 30 tips to elevate your life. So it's just something I co-wrote with another trainer at my studio. And then the one I'm working at right now is what will you gain by making fitness a priority? But if you go to beatyourexcuses.com, so listeners, if you've stayed with us, hopefully you've had some takeaways by now. But if you've gotten some takeaways from this, and I always only have 45 minutes when I get to come on one of these great shows. But if you had a takeaway and you wanted to learn more, you need to get started, then my book is a great guide to get started. It's a fitness motivation on steroids, I'd say. So it's beatyourexcuses.com. You can get a free copy of my first book, and you can also get 5 free classes in my virtual classes on my online training platform. But all my other books can be found on Amazon also.
So we'll go ahead and put all of that in the show notes. That's beatyourexcuses.com. And then the books are all on Amazon. And do you have social media that you have people follow you as well?
Yeah. Make Fitness a Priority is kind of how you can find me everywhere. But Make Fitness a Priority is my Facebook and Instagram. And I regularly share stuff.
Obviously, you have a gym or a studio locally where you are. but you also do virtual service training or?
Yeah. So this where I'm at right now. This is my recording studio, I call it. So this is where I do my online classes, but I have 4 classes I do throughout the week, and they're all, but then they're also, so you could join us live, but I also have all of them recorded. And so I have a library of classes that you can get as on-demand classes. And so you can go and get a monthly subscription to have as many as you want. But I try to cover all excuses. So that's kind of what I do. But I do classes on weekends that are with dumbbells and all kinds of equipment. But then on Mondays, I do one called No Excuses. And it just alternates back and forth where it's either just body weight exercises or just resistance band exercises. That is always one of the biggest excuses that is hard for us to overcome. Is I don't have equipment to do it, or I don't have the right equipment to do it. And so it's just teaching you that you don't need a bunch of fancy stuff. And so you can, without nothing. So if my clients, especially now that we've gone to virtual because of the pandemic, that is one of those, this is good because with the pandemic. But now my clients that have to travel all the time, if they can't make it to the studio, it doesn't matter. We're still doing our training session at the exact same time. And I have one client that the last 2 times I've trained him, it's just been in a hotel room. And so I've got on with him on Zoom, and I'm like, okay, what do we got to work with here? And he brings his bands with him, and then I'll give him a good workout. But I have No Excuses on Mondays, and I have a creative cardio, I call it, where it's if you're tired of working out on cardio machines and you want something that's less boring, I kind of have a creative cardio workout I put that's about 30 minutes. And then I do a challenging one on Fridays, and then a boot camp every Saturday morning at 8:00. But those things, and I try to use it for a lot of talks too. So I'll use it for fitness talks. And at the end of every month, we'll do what we call a healthy happy hour. And it's kind of just like a check-in. So just like a check-in, like you would have with your boss, where making sure that and kind of grading you on how you're doing right now, but on a friendly atmosphere, I like to call it. And so we'll celebrate your wins, what you're doing right, and knowing that part of this is mindset and making sure that you're in a positive space. And so you always want to find a place. If you don't have it yet, you want to find a place to celebrate your wins, but with people that will celebrate with you. That's a very important part of that. If you celebrate your wins with the wrong people, then they're just going to demotivate you because they'll dismiss them as not very big wins, and everything's a win. You got to celebrate them all. So we'll celebrate your wins, evaluate how you're doing, your progress, and then we'll set yourself up for success moving forward. So what little things can I do right now that I can do better? And then I always have some sort of fitness tips I throw in at the end too. But that's something that we kind of have a community built that we meet at the end of every month. But healthy happy hours, we call them.
Healthy happy hour. That's great. That sounds very motivational, Chad. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
All right. Well, is there anything we haven't asked you that we should have?
Well, I always have a takeaway. I kind of mentioned it earlier, but I think the biggest takeaway when if I'm asked for, so I hopefully you had a couple good takeaways on out of this, and it made you think differently. Especially if you're someone that's putting fitness off. But the other big part of it, rather than getting started, is knowing that just as change is inevitable, failing is inevitable too. And so, but knowing that whenever you fail, whenever you fall off track, that doesn't end your fitness journey. It doesn't have to stop there. Failing does not define us. It actually makes us stronger. It doesn't define us. What you do next defines us. And that's something that my dad, I have several little lessons that my dad taught me growing up, but that's one that's always stuck. Whenever I made a mistake, or if in a competition, I didn't do very well, his thing to me was always, it's what you do next that counts. And I think that's so important on your fitness journey, because there's going to be times when, you miss your workout. There's going to be times where you didn't plan ahead. And so you end up eating something you didn't plan on, or you just fall off track from time to time. Nobody's perfect. Everybody does.
Right.
And so it's not about beating yourself up or shaming yourself. It's about, how do I do better next time? How can I get back on track?
That's awesome. Thank you. Boy, we really appreciate having you as a guest today on the Fit Strong Women Over 50 podcast. Been great.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me on.
We'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah. This was great. This is a good show, and it's a really good topic. It's a really good topic and a great audience for the show too. So it's going to be really impactful.
Yeah. Thank you. We enjoy doing it.
Yeah. Thanks again.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Chad got it right about life happening and distracting us from our fitness routine. At least he was talking right to me, I feel like.
Oh, yeah, I definitely knew that. And, life does happen, both good and bad. And it's hard to stay focused at times.
Right.
Yeah,
right, exactly.
So, yeah, I felt like he was talking to me. I also really liked the 2 features he mentioned of recognizing a fitness or diet scam, promising immediate results, and a one-size-fits-all approach. I know we've all seen those kinds of plans, and they're often very tempting.
Right. He made a lot of good points. And one that's really stuck with me is the heaviest weight you ever have to pick up is opening the gym door, getting to the gym. That I've thought about, several times since we talked. And I have that right in my mind.
Yes. He had some very good quotes, I would say.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I'd love to hear what our listeners think and what they are doing to make fitness a priority, or what you are doing, I should say. I'm talking to the listeners. Let us know about how you're doing at our website or any of our social media accounts. We would love to hear from you.
Definitely. You can also find us at becomingellie.com or on Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, and YouTube.
Be sure to follow us on our Facebook page and then to join our private Facebook group where we encourage and support each other.
It was great talking with you today, Chris. I'm looking forward to our next episode of the Fit, Strong Women Over 50 podcast.
I am too. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.